Hey everybody, Coach here. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes with me this week. Hey, here we are in the middle of June 2022. We are on the cusp of the summer solstice. Today? Is it today?
It's today.
It is today. Longest day of the year. Many of you have landscape projects. Many of you already have landscape projects in. But this week, we're talking about that new baby in the house. And I'm talking about the landscape baby. The one that you brought home after many months or years of planning, gathering funds together, and the wherewithal. Buzzards are circling yard, Coach. And getting it done, whether you had a professional do it or whether you did it yourself. I certainly hope it was the latter because you saved a boatload of money, didn't you? We're going to be talking about that crucial 30 to 45 day establishment period after you get a new landscape in during the heat of the summer. Very, very important. Not the time to take your eye off the ball now that you've dumped all those resources into your landscape project. Now we get through that little critical time period when everything starts to get established. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started, shall we? Hey, I can remember, maybe some of you out there, you can too. I can remember bringing my oldest child home when she was brand new. She was all of, gosh, back then they actually stayed in the hospital overnight. Bringing her home in her little car seat at a whopping, I don't know what she was. I think she was 7 pounds, 5 ounces. Very healthy baby girl. But I was scared out of my mind. Not like in a real fear, but in a parental fear, a rookie parental fear. Now, I'm not trying to equate a human life versus a plant in the backyard. I'm no way trying to do that. I'm just saying that your new landscape baby now is going to require some of the same attention that you gave Little Miss or Little Mister when they came home as well. You're going to have to check on them. You're going to have to water them. You're going to have to feed them. And you get through that first 30 to 45 days, usually, you're kind of home free. Everything that's going to stress, everything that's going to die, everything that's going to have a problem is generally going to start showing its signs and symptoms during that time. One trap I do not want you to fall into. Do not fall into that automated irrigation system that you spent so much time and diligently installing and hooking up. I would like to impress upon you that sprinkler systems are for established landscapes and to assist brand new landscapes. What do I mean by assist? Yes, they're there to put water on the ground and in the ground, but it is you with that diligent hose going around and checking all the plants, checking the lawn, checking those seams and edges on that lawn that should be tended to manually for that first critical few weeks. Now, most of the time, your sprinkler system is going to take care of it. But if you happen to put in one nozzle, you forgot one emitter or anything, you're going to find out in a quick hurry, and you'd better have that hose at the ready. Now, every time that I put in a landscape for folks, we did what we called a walkthrough. And I would take them out, even though they saw me do 99% of everything that I did, I would walk around and explain the care, the irrigation, the food, when they should feed again, the type of water that we're putting on the ground as far as amounts and volume and frequency, and when to change that. But most important, I told them to keep an eye in the sky and watch the weather report, not only short term, but especially the long term, over the next 30 days or so. Very, very critical, and prepare for it thusly, not to forget about it. And I got a short story to share with you in just a few minutes, so stick with me. So here are a few key things, 4 or 5 that I'd really like you to key in on and pay attention to during that first 30 to 45 days. You ready for it? Here it comes, rapid fire. Moisture, settling, traffic, plant stress, and the weather. Those 5 things are the big 5 that you're really going to want to have to pay attention to. Let's go over each one just a little more detail, okay? Moisture obviously is the water that is not only in the ground when you're planting, but also what you're going to be putting on it during this critical time and beyond. Most of the time you have to know what plants you put in the ground. That is going to dictate how much water you're going to have to give them. If you have a particular drip zone that you've assembled, and this drip zone has gone through the planting bed out front or out back, and part of that zone is for the shady hydrangeas and hostas up underneath the blah 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 tree, and the other part of the same zone is doing manzanita or something out in the full sun next to that big boulder. Totally different water requirements. So I hope you at least have different emitters, different gallons per hour emitters going to each one, so you kind of balance that a little bit. Anyway, moisture. How many times a day, what time of day, and how much you're going to throw on there is going to be very important. Your new sod lawn, if you decided to go sod, is going to require at least during the summer months, unless the heavens open up for you, probably going to require at least twice a day. In some cases in the Central Valley of Northern California, I had the sod lawns on a totally separate program than I did the plant material for that first 30 days. So as the establishment of that sod lawn got going, I would be able to come back and I'd be able to ratchet down the number of days, the times per day, and the minutes per zone until that lawn was established. I also taught my clients how to check that sod lawn. You go out there and do the old tug test, check those edges, check those seams, and make sure that those things are hand watered for at least the first week, in addition to what you're doing with your irrigation system. Okay, moving on, settling. Probably outside of too much moisture or too little moisture, settling is the number 2 death of new landscapes. Things were just not planted right. The holes were not dug correctly, and things ended up getting suffocated with a settling factor and dirt and mulch packed up around the crown of those trees, the crown of those plants, and they basically just rotted out from suffocation. Make sure that you plant your plants at least an inch too shallow and allow for natural settling so that root ball is at ground level when everything is done and they're off and running. Very, very important. Settling as far as your irrigation trenches and your drainage trenches. Very important that you have packed those things really good. Watered beforehand, packed again, watered again, and packed again. You do not want to throw out that beautiful new sod lawn on very loosely compacted trenches and then start watering heavy. And all of a sudden you got these huge settling ruts that are going on inside the lawn. And now you have to rip up that new sod, put in more soil, pack it back down, and then reapply. Really stresses the sod lawn out when it's trying to get going, and now you're ripping all those hair roots out of the ground in order to address a mistake. So, settling. All right, plant stresses. Can't say enough. Plant stress. You have to remember what your plants, when you walked into their lives, what they have gone through in the past 30 days or more. You remember, at a wholesale grower, they're grown under the most optimum conditions. 10 out of 10 condition. They are under maybe a little 30% filtered sun lath. They are perfectly happy where they're at. Their water is perfectly pH balanced most of the time. And they even have fertigation that goes on when they're watering. So they get fed every single day or twice a day. The best of the best. Then that day arrives where they get jerked off the table or off the ground, slapped on a trailer, put in a truck, jammed all together and shipped God knows how far to a totally different environment, and then put at a retail nursery. Hopefully they were watered before they went on the truck. Sometimes they are not. And now the retail nursery is putting them out on a pallet in the full sun or whatever in a totally different Maybe it's super humid or it's super dry, and no one gets to them until the next day as far as watering. Stress, stress, and more stress. Imagine you guys. Imagine you right now in your shorts, flip-flops, and t-shirt, and someone takes you, throws you on a plane and takes you to Antarctica right now, and kicks you off the plane and goes, there you go, good luck. There's some water inside the building over there and maybe some food, but we're not sure. Do you think you'd be a little stressed? Plants are no different. So plant stresses tend to show up right at the time you pick them up. You can look at them. Was that root ball wet? Does it look healthy? Are there a lot of yellow leaves? Are there a lot of dropping leaves in the bundle of whatever plants you're picking up? Make sure that you get the best quality stock before it goes into your yard. And once it hits your yard, take care of it like it is a new baby in the house. Make sure it has a good drink. You might want to consider feeding it. I usually fed all my plants in my dump trailer the night before they went in the ground at my customer's thing. And I only replaced one major tree in the 45-day warranty period that I used to offer my clients. One tree. Not too bad. Really not too bad. Anyway, make sure that you address that plant stresses, and that's part of your inspection period when you're going out there in the morning and when you get home from work. And maybe even have the kiddos, if they're old enough, go out there and, hey, hose down the whole plant material, all the plant material, the sod, lawn, and everything. Put some humidity back into the air if you happen to be out west where it's really arid, like where I'm at right now. You want to have less stress. The plant should only have to concentrate on reestablishing a root system in the ground and getting going. It's going to be a stressful time for those plants, and you're the parent, so pay attention to that. Okay, the next one, traffic. And when I say traffic, I mean foot traffic. And I mean foot traffic not only from the two-legged people, but also the four-legged people. I don't much care so much about the cats. The cats, they're so lightweight, they're probably not gonna, but they will end up leaving you presents in barked planting beds and stuff until they get retrained or you redirect them to where they need to do their business. I'm talking mainly about kiddos, doggos, and you. Stay off of that sod lawn. Obviously stay off of the brand new seed bed lawn area. And try to minimize, if you're doing sprays for your beds, which I don't recommend anymore, it's such a waste of water. But if you're dripping them, go out there and walk delicately around the area and do your inspection. This is not the time to have a big summer bash celebrating somebody's birthday or the brand new landscape install. Do that about after the 30-day mark. After you've tapered off the water on the lawn and it's got its first mowing probably by then. Then bring in the family, bring in the friends, and have a good time. But keep the inflatable pool off of the lawn area during the summertime or any time, because it can suffocate a lawn inside 2 hours and you'll have one of those beautiful burnt circles out in the middle of your brand new sod lawn or your new seed lawn eventually. Okay, last one is weather. Keep an eye in the sky, 2 eyes on the screen, and listen to the news. You want to know every single day what you're up against weather-wise that first 30 to 45 days. If you know that you have mid-70s right now, but in a week it's mid-90s or higher, you're going to have a problem if you don't pay attention. Make sure there's always some moisture in that ground at all times. Make sure that you have plenty of, I would say 2 to 3 times a day, maybe for only 5 minutes for each zone on that lawn, depending on your situation. The other thing is, landscapes can cave in because of too much moisture. Give just enough to make sure that everything is good and moist, but not standing water and certainly not mud. Many plants do not do well in that situation. Okay, so there you have it. Top 5 stressors, very, very important to make sure that you pay attention to those over the first few critical weeks. Summer is not the prime time to put plants in the ground. It's really not. If you can, shoot for early fall, right after summer kind of breaks and you have at least a good 2-month window before late fall ebbs into winter. Then the plants can cool, establish slowly, establish completely over the winter time and then pop back really big in spring. Mid-spring would be my second choice. Winter, if you're down south, they're in zones 9, 10, 11, those areas, you can do it in the winter time as well, no problem. And lastly, summer. Summer, you know, I've put in dozens of summertime landscapes, and you just have to pay a little closer attention. So I'm gonna leave you with a quick story, one that really drives this all home. Put in a multi-$1,000 backyard landscape in Tracy, California. I was there for probably a month doing the job. And I got all done. Everybody had seen the progress. Everybody was very happy. When I did my walkthrough, I took Mom and Pop out there and we walked around and we talked about all the care and how to operate and lighting and irrigation and everything. Then I said, the next 30 to 45 days is going to be critical. Here we are in summertime. And they didn't bother to give me a little bit of information right then that they should have. And, you know, whatever. But I said, now's the time to pay attention. They didn't bother telling me that they had vacation plans and they were flying to the other side of the equator down to Fiji for 2 weeks. I got a call about 2.5 weeks later. 2.5 weeks. They told me what they had done. They told me that they left 2 days after the install was done. They didn't tell me that they had brownouts continuously throughout the Tracy area at that time, and the sprinkler system got wonky. It was coming on not when it was supposed to, and their sod lawn died, 2 trees died, and a bunch of shrubs. And they said, what are you, Coach, gonna do about it? And I said, I'm gonna replace them for you, but not at my cost. You know, you guys took off at a critical time when I really suggested at our walkthrough that you have somebody watching the landscape the entire time. Well, that's what the sprinkler system was for. I said, no, that's not what the sprinkler system is for. The sprinkler system is only going to work as long as there's electricity to that timer. Obviously, you did not. So we ended up resolving the issue. I went back and replaced all the things that had died on their dime, and it cost them almost 25% of the entire job again. So lesson learned, right? Lesson learned. That's what I have for you guys this week. Hey, please do me a favor. Check out the plants of the week that are here this week. I've got a lot of good ones and kind of in a perennial mode right now because there's a lot of beautiful perennials going and blooming right now. Also, thank you very much to the purchasers of the course and the book this week. I really hope you love it and you learn a lot from it. I will catch you guys next week as always, next Friday. Coach says goodbye for now, and as always, to your landscape success. Take care.